Good morning, Instagram and Dorking Entity Facebook page, Zoe from the Sling Consultancy. We are talking this week about narrow-base carriers and how we can do things that will make them fit better or more comfortable for us. They are perfectly safe to use. They are not going to cause hip dysplasia unless your child has a pre-existing condition. So there's lots of different things that go around ergonomic carriers or, but they are not all awful. There's been some in the press this week that one of the MPs was using going into Parliament, and there's some really key little tips and tricks with a narrow-base carrier that we can do to get them more comfortable. So firstly, the cross on this one, on this baby born, is adjustable. So I can move that cross on the fabric, so it can be moved lower on these two pieces of fabric. Now this is not all one piece, so this top piece is one and this bottom piece is another. And these things are really key to get set up so that's in the right place for you. So you want it lower down in the middle of the back and enough space so that when you're going to put your baby in and the weight comes down, that baby doesn't lift it all forwards and it doesn't come up too high on your neck. So what we do is some people will clip one side in, some people will get their baby and clip it in. So generally I tended to clip one in. This is actually my own one that we used with our eldest, who's actually 11 today. So then what we do is we clip this side in, okay, and it just clips in. So a lot of people like these because they're quite quick and easy in that respect. So sometimes it's a bit awkward. What do you do with their arms? It depends on the size of your baby. And then you have the headpiece, which some babies will tolerate and some won't. So this is an older doll, so this doll's fine for that head control. So straight away what's happened is that cross has come up on my back, on my neck, and I can feel it slightly on my shoulders. So at this point what we can do is we can just lift that baby's weight and then we can just pull this strap forward, and then the same on this side. So just pull your straps forward and straight away that's holding this down here a little bit more. So I'm not feeling it as much on my shoulders and I can feel it taking the weight more around my body. Okay, moving the straps a little bit so they're further out on your shoulders can be really helpful as well. The other trick that is really good with a narrow-base carrier, so for a newborn this is going to be their knee-to-knee width, so that's not a problem. It's as your baby gets older and their knees are now down here, they tend to be dangling down a bit. Actually what you can do is just lift their knees up. Just by doing that, just by putting my fingers in there, that's already taking some of the weight off my body, okay, and that is immediately more comfortable for baby in terms of it's much more supported. Their spine tends to curve in that position. They're in a much better tilted pelvis position. It's what we call the J shape. So we can get a scarf. Any scarf will do, as long as it's long enough and wide enough that it's going to support your baby knee to knee. And then all we can do is tie that behind our backs. Now there are some videos online that shows this underneath the carrier, between the carrier and the baby, or you can do it over the top like this. So you can just tie that behind you, or if you have long enough you can bring it back and round to the front. And this is called the scarf hack. So what this does is it will scoop that up into the knee to knee, and so it will hold those knees up in that position, so we have that lovely tilted pelvis position. We don't have all the weight kind of pulling downwards, but the weight is spread more across the body, and that can immediately help make that slightly more comfortable for you as the person doing the carrying and also the baby. Sometimes babies, when they get really fed up having this over their heads, just fold it down and it can come out of the way. Again, if you've got your scarf you can just tuck it in, tuck it into your little scarf there, and it keeps it out of the way and baby can see a lot more then. I tend to find with these carriers, because it's their legs tend to dangle, straightens their back, tends to mean their head goes back, and hence why we have the head support. If you've got the tilted pelvis position, the head will just rest gently on your body. They can also see a lot more, so you don't then have to face your baby outwards unless they're particularly really wanting to. Again, having their arms out is a really good tip because it gives them a lot more mobility in the upper part of their body to be able to see a bit more. So do play around with the fittings of your carriers. Quite often you still need to be going through your checks, the same checks that we go through with any carrier, and that's can baby breathe firstly, and the answer to that at the moment is yes, we can see that our baby can breathe here. We can see that they've got a nice clear airway and that they can breathe. firstly then, can I be hands-free? Can I be hands-free? So that means that I don't need to support baby. Actually, when I lean forward, that doll's not coming away from my body. But if I loosen these straps, which immediately, you can see what happens to the baby. Baby's dropped, cross has gone back, and then when I lean forward, there's quite a bit of space between me and the baby. Now, it's also not as comfortable. It's putting a lot more weight on my shoulders. And also, baby's dropped down quite a lot, so the legs are quite in the way when I'm walking. So again, if you're lifting those legs up, they're out of the way from my legs. And that's immediately going to put more pressure on my back than is necessary. Also, baby's quite a lot lower down. We want them up on the hard piece of our chest because depending on your landscape, suffocation risk is high, especially with young babies where they can't really move their heads as much. And also the risk of this is that babies can curve their spine too much when they, again, don't have a huge amount of muscle control. And if they can really curve their spines, then there's a risk that we can be compromising their airway as well. So they're all things to bear in mind. So if that's happening, just lift your baby up to where you would want them on your body, hold them with one hand, and then just tighten by pulling these straps forward, pulling them forward. Immediately, much more comfortable, much better fit on my body. So I'll just demonstrate that again. So look what happens. Baby drops, a lot more pressure on my neck. So lift baby up. Again, if you feel like you need to, get your hand in there, pull that cross down, and then tighten and tighten. So don't be afraid. There are adjustments that you can make with a narrow base carrier to make it more comfortable. If you have a narrow base carrier and you're still not sure what to do, pop along to Sling Library or book a consult. It can help. I can also bring other carriers that are wider base that you may find more comfortable. But it absolutely depends on your individual needs and your landscape, your body shape. What often works for one person may not work for another. So for me, with the straps on here, if I take my baby out, I'll show you. The straps come right across particularly sensitive area if you have a new baby. So a lot of the other carriers that we have come much further away from the breast tissue. So in terms of sometimes men prefer this kind of a carrier because they don't have those things. So then you just take off and then you can take that off. So there's different considerations to make. So it may well absolutely suit your needs perfectly, and that's fine. And if it doesn't, then pop along to Sling Library, book a consult, and we can help you find one that does work for your needs. Because often with the narrow base carriers, people find babies get heavier and heavier and it gets more and more uncomfortable, and then they stop carrying their baby. Now, I still carry my 3.5-year-old in a wider base, much wider base, because it's a preschool carrier. But there are absolutely carriers out there to help you carry on with your journey of carrying. So next Sling Library is the 14th of January. I'm available for some consults between here and there, so do get in touch if you have some specific needs. Wish you a Merry Christmas, and we'll see you in the new year.